The army was retreating. The warriors were fleeing. She picked up a sword. She picked up a shield. And she stood. She received 12 wounds that day. She never left her post.
Her name was Nusaybah bint Ka'b al-Mazaniyah. She is known in the historical record as Imarah, the mother of Imarah. She was from the tribe of Banu Najjar in Medina. She had pledged allegiance at the second pledge of Aqaba, one of the few women to do so. She was present at the Battle of Badr. She was present at the Battle of Uhud. And at the Battle of Uhud in 625 CE, she did something that the Arab historians recorded with a specificity they reserved only for acts of extraordinary courage. When the Muslim forces were surprised by a Qurayshi cavalry flanking maneuver and briefly routed, when trained warriors broke and fled, Nusaybah bint Ka'b did not flee. She had come to the battle as a nurse, carrying water for the wounded. When the rout began, she put down the water. She picked up a sword. She picked up a shield. And she placed herself between the fleeing soldiers and the advancing enemy, personally defending the Prophet, who was at risk of being reached. The historian Ibn Sa'd recorded that she received 12 wounds at Uhud. One of them, a spear wound to her neck, left a scar she carried for the rest of her life. The Prophet himself, according to multiple historical sources, said, "Whenever I turned to the right or the left during the Battle of Uhud, I saw her fighting in my defense." This is
Nusaybah did not arrive at Uhud as a warrior. She arrived as a nurse. She had no obligation to fight. She had no training for the specific situation that unfolded. She had no commander ordering her to stand. What she had was a decision to make. In the moment when everyone around her was making the rational choice, survival, retreat, live to fight another day, she made a different calculation. The Arab warrior tradition has a specific understanding of this moment. It is not the absence of fear that produces the person who stays. It is the presence of something that matters more than the fear. For Nusaybah, what mattered more was clear. She acted from it without hesitation. Lesson 1. Courage is not a personality trait you either have or do not have. It is a decision made in a specific moment, in response to a specific situation, by a person who has identified what matters more than their safety. Nusaybah identified it. She acted on it. The 12 wounds are the record of what that decision cost her. She paid it. The question for you is not, am I the kind of person who is courageous? The question is, have I identified what matters enough to me that I would act on it at personal cost? Because until you have named that thing, the moment of decision will find you unprepared.
Nusaybah arrived at Uhud to give water. She left, having fought with a sword. The transition between those two roles, the speed and completeness of it, reveals something important about identity and limitation. She did not think, "I am a nurse, not a warrior." She did not think, "This is not my role." She looked at what the situation required, and she became what the situation required. The Arab tradition had a concept for this quality, part of Maruwa, the complete human excellence we explored earlier. It is the refusal to be limited by the role you arrived in when a larger role is called for by the moment. Lesson 2. The role you were given is not the limit of what you can offer. The person who can only operate within their defined function will always be outperformed in the moments that matter by the person who can read what is needed and become it. Nusaybah was not asked to fight. She chose to. That choice is the difference between a person who fills a role and a person who rises to a moment.
Uhud was not Nusaybah's last battle. She fought at the Battle of Hunain, She fought during the campaigns of the Ridda Wars under Abu Bakr. At the Battle of Yamama in 632 CE against the forces of the false prophet Musaylimah, she fought with such ferocity that she was described by Arab historians as seeking Musaylimah personally in revenge for the death of her son, who had been killed by his forces. She found him, or rather, she was part of the group that brought him down. At Yamama, she lost her hand. The historical record does not describe her stopping after the loss of the hand. It describes her continuing. Lesson 3. The warrior is not defined by the absence of wounds. The warrior is defined by the relationship with wounds. Nusaybah carried 12 scars from Uhud. She lost her hand at Yamama. What the record shows is not a diminished person nursing her injuries. It shows a person who incorporated every loss into the continuation of the life she had committed to. What wounds are you carrying that you are using as reasons to stop? Nusaybah carried hers as reasons to continue.
After the Battle of Uhud, when the Prophet visited her to check on her wounds, she made a specific request. She asked that if she and her family were to be martyred in the defense of what they believed in, they should be together in whatever came after. She also, in a separate recorded interaction, asked why women were not mentioned in the Quran as explicitly as men. The Quran subsequently revealed a verse that explicitly addressed both men and women in its address of believers. Whether or not you hold a theological position on this, the historical fact is significant. Nusaybah asked a direct question about inclusion from a position of someone who had just proved, with 12 wounds, that she was fully present in the struggle. Lesson 4. The person who has paid the cost of full commitment has earned the right to ask direct questions. Nusaybah's request was not a compliment.
Nusaybah's sons, Habib and Abdullah ibn Zayd, fought alongside her in multiple battles. Habib was captured and killed by Musaylimah's forces before the Battle of Yamama, which is why Nusaybah sought him out personally in that battle. Abdullah survived and is recorded in the historical sources as a distinguished companion in his own right. The image of a mother fighting alongside her sons, transmitting not just the biological life, but the warrior's code, the commitment, the willingness to pay the highest cost, is one of the most powerful in the entire early Arab historical record. Lesson 5. The most powerful thing you can transmit to the people who come after you is not wealth, not position, not even knowledge. It is the demonstrated example of what commitment at full cost looks like. Nusaybah did not tell her sons what courage was. She showed them, with 12 wounds on her body at Uhud. They already knew what they were inheriting.
The army was retreating. The warriors were fleeing. And Nusaybah bint Ka'b, who had come to give water to the wounded, put down her water and picked up a sword. 12 wounds, multiple battles, one hand lost, sons raised to the same standard. A question asked that changed the record. History forgot to teach you her name. That is history's failure, not hers. She stood when they fled. That is all you need to know about who she was. Subscribe to Desert Mind, the stories history forgot, every Tuesday and Friday.